Woohoo! We're on time, like 1 second early, I think. Hello, everyone. It's Thursday, which it's that time again when we do some work while streaming live on YouTube. Only four of us today. I'm surrounded by the wonderful open source developers for Anchore's products, Syft and Grype. We're down a couple of people, but that's okay. We can still get stuff done. Feel free to subscribe and like this video, obviously. And if you would like to get involved in some cool stuff, then head over to anchor.com/open source or go to our GitHub repo org, where all the open source repos are here, and there's plenty of issues to go around and plenty of opportunities to find bugs, like all open source software. There are more bugs than there are, I don't know, grains of sand in the universe or something, I don't know. So, hello Keith, hello Chris, hello Dan. I hope you're all doing well. Shall we begin? We've already done a quick check, and there are no issues that are marked needs discussion, so that's good. There's nothing pending, but we have some things to triage. We can dive straight into those, or if any of you chaps have anything urgent that needs discussion.
I think we can go right on into the triage.
There is one thing I want you visitors to check out, maybe on their own time. We don't have to discuss it, but there's currently a PR on Gripe that's done by Alex Goodman for the risk score enhancements. We've talked about this before in this stream, but this is the final version landing. I just went and approved and kind of did the PR review for it. I think it should be at the very top right now. So nope, someone beat us to it, but this is the second one from the top as of this live stream. But yeah, there's a preview of what it looks like, what's about to land in Gripe. Check out the description, check out how we're actually calculating the risk. If you have any questions, post it on our discourse, or just look forward to this coming soon next week when we do a Gripe release.
That's cool. I like this little blob here. That's kind of nice, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Alex had some intentions of there being other labels that we can include there later, but for now, Kev is one of the best ones to highlight and to show as far as things that people might want to put to the top of their remediation workflows.
There's something I need to mention as well, actually. I did a community like chat spotlight and had a chat with George Castro from Universal Blue earlier, and I've put it on the channel, but I've marked it. I've put my stupid gurning face on this video, which I thought was fun. It's going to be a premiere, so I'm going to sit and watch this. So is George, so is some other people, so we can sit and chat while this plays out. But the reason I've mentioned this is twofold. First of all, that people should watch that. It's quite good fun. But the second thing is, George said lovely things about the command line utilities that we have and the way that they present. And he wishes that all command line utilities were as pretty when they run as ours, especially things like when Syft or Grype are pulling a container and you see all the little layers appearing. It's very pretty, isn't it? Is that all from what's it called? Bubble tea or whatever it's called?
Bubble Tea is definitely a part of it, but what Bubble Tea lets you do is kind of like write your own components for ASCII or command line CLI UIs, and yeah, so Bubble Tea provides like the loop that does the message dispatching and things like that, and but a lot of it's kind of like just our own code to render those things.
Yeah, he loves it. Super. Right. Thanks for that, Chris and Keith. Let's dive in. Anyone you want to pick or don't want to pick? There's a couple here that I think are going to be gnarly. Oh, that one should probably be tagged, shouldn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Let's add false positive to this one, and we can go investigate it in a little bit.
I saw a couple more that said false positive in the title, which probably should also have tags. And on that note, I think we should pick for this stream anything but the false positives.
Yes, I concur, because they are quite time consuming for us to go through. So they've disappeared now. Oh, there's another one. Oh no, that's gone. Oh, there's another one. Is it? Ah. So this is a question about the. Actually, we probably want to briefly talk about this one. It's Grype 2606. As I understand it, we don't interpret this. We interpret version numbers, but not hashes, and certainly not the version number after a comment, right?
So there's some more, an update on this one. We are doing that now. So we have a PR that I'm pretty sure has been approved and merged in Syft, and I don't think it's actually been released. It probably will be part of the next release. But one of the things that our own wonderful Alex Goodman put together was something that does actually read the comments out of the YAML, because the thing that we found is that Dependabot, which is what most people are using, I think, to do these automated bumps to put hashes in for the GitHub Actions, it does this thing where it puts the version number in a comment right following it, and so. Now we have something that parses all those, and so we actually get the real version numbers, and so we should be able to accurately compare those things, assuming that version of Syft is run to get your against your actions. But yes, but before that, yeah, the hashes weren't really doing too well to compare against the version numbers. No, that's for sure.
Right. Which, yeah, that's great that this is getting better. So yeah, there's a merge PR. So does that mean the next time we do a Grype release and integrate this version of whatever version of Syft this goes out in, then people will be able to use that to detect, and that will no longer be a false positive.
Exactly. Yep. So I mean,
nice.
And we include all of that data in our GrypeDB now. So yep. So we should be able to detect any more future things like this.
Wow. Wonderful. Oh, that was great. I'm glad we've.
I think
Yep.
you also you hovered over a comment that I made, but viewers should note that if their GitHub Actions don't have Semver compliant versions and they're tagging it and just kind of relying on Dependabot to do the magic there, then we don't handle this case currently. So that's something else that we probably want to go into Syft and try and convert any kind of raw string to a Semver format. But right now we would not parse that correctly and wouldn't pass it down. So that's something that we need to add the enhancement for.
Great. Thank you for clarifying.
Yep. And also we have, another idea for this one, which is it being GitHub and GitHub having an API. There could be an enhancement in Syft to automatically enhance things that we find with hashes that we know are GitHub Actions. We could potentially, execute some type of query to figure out what the version is for those things online for people who wanted to do that too. But we haven't. I don't think anybody's implemented that yet.
Right. So what you're saying is take that hash, and we know where that lives in GitHub. Go and find that commit and find out what version that correlates to, and then put that in the SBOM.
Exactly. Yep.
Nice. That would be cool. Gosh. Patchy's welcome. Right. Where should we go? This one down here. So this is Grype number 2630. And right. So running Grype with package URLs from different distributions causes Grype to not output any vulnerabilities.
I'm fairly certain, unless the Grype's changed, what's happening here is that for a long time, the distribution, the Linux distribution that we use is a singular object in Grype. And so when you submit a bunch of PURLs and there's no distribution information like from an existing SBOM, like if you imported a Syft SBOM, it would have that in the source, for example, and so that it would use that information. But if you don't have that because it's a list of PURLs or whatever, Grype tries to figure that out from the PURL. So you'll see there's a distro in there, and you know, it'll try to find something. And so if there are multiple, it doesn't know what the one to use is, and it doesn't use multiple of those, right? So it was only trying to pick a singular one to use for the entirety of Gripe. As some of the work that I did for the V6 upgrades, the package in Gripe now has a distro. So really all we need to do is to enhance the Perl reader so that it can set the distro on the package itself. And nobody's just done that yet. So this is, I think, absolutely ready to be worked on. And anybody who wants to get that done is more than welcome to.
Am I doing something wrong here? Because they're giving just passing PURLs directly to Gripe, and that's not working for me, but it is working for them. Well, working as in they state that is a thing you can do.
Looks like there's a problem with your config file.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Did we edit my config file to put a typo in it or something last week?
It seems that way.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So let me do that off camera. I wonder if it's the one that's in that directory. Or it's the one that's, it'll be the one that's in my home directory, won't it? Likely. Oh no, there is a Grype.yaml in that folder that was created on the 10th of April. So yes, a couple of weeks ago.
And it has the string BLAC false in it.
Yeah, I think we messed around with it for some reason. Anyway, yeah, it works now. Now that I've deleted that file. So yeah, well spotted. Thank you. Good work. Okay, so what you said, just so I understand this. So the distro in this one, what's that? Oh well, that's Oracle Linux. That will be matched with the package, and that metadata will go with the package. And so if you've got 10 packages with different distros, each one will have whichever is the distro matched with whatever is the package. Is that what you're saying? Internally inside the database?
Yes, right, exactly. So, you know, the distro feed from Oracle will, you know, if that OS is used as part of the search, then, you know, that package would be referenced with back to the Oracle provider, right? Back to the Oracle distro that it came from, like 9.5, whatever. So
for demonstration's sake, Alan, if you go over, if you copy the one that's at the top of the PURLs, the Ubuntu one, now you have the Oracle Linux one.
Oh, the top, that one.
Sorry. Yeah,
sorry.
maybe I'm. That's my bad. I thought the top was Ubuntu. Yep, yeah. My fault. So yeah, that one. Why does that one parse it? Why does that parse the Ubuntu from the distro there? Because I thought you would have to pass distro equals Ubuntu 24.04 to get that to pop out. So do some of the PURLs work, or is it just when there's multiple, it doesn't attempt to do it?
It's when you do it in
is if you do it individually, it works. If you have an input.txt where there's multiple distros, Gripe is picking one, and it's not the other is what.
Yeah, I didn't read the command. Yeah. Okay. So now if you do it if you do Gripe PURL : input.txt and you pass the distro, you should see the core utils. And by pass the distro, I mean -- distro Ubuntu : 20.04. Yep. You'll see nothing there. Now pass the distro flag space Ubuntu : 20.04 24.04. Yeah. Because core util shows up. But then like that's kind of useless because you'd have to do individual runs to pass the different distros for each PURL that you're doing. So currently, individual inputs.txt should be distro specific until we get the fix that Keith was just talking about worked on and in.
Yep.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, I'm just looking up. I forgot exactly where in the code base it is, but I'll just add a comment to this issue about this is what needs to change here.
Nice.
It's actually a really simple thing.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's good to know. Cool. Right. What's this one? This one looks like a dependency update somewhere. What?
Oh, probably. I don't know how much use our Docker image does get, but we should go and update this correctly. I wouldn't pick the one that they advertised here specifically, but there is there is probably a better one to land on than what we currently have.
So where's the Docker file for that? Is it in the repo or is it somewhere else?
Yeah, it's last time it was touched.
Oh, there it is.
It's pinned to a SHA as a static DB in 11 with debug, and we normally release this for people who we have both a regular image and a debug image, but it's for people who use Syft kind of in pipelines, specifically GitLab runners that need a debug shell, where if they're trying to use a Syft as a Docker container, they can actually debug it during the pipeline. And I think also still GitLab runners don't support non-debug status or non-debug containers, but I have to look and see if they updated that.
I don't understand what debug, what that means. So this is just a standard Debian 11 container, but what does that mean?
It's usually terminology to denote that a shell is accessible that you can like exec into the container. So if you don't have a debug one and you just run it, it's usually like statically compiled and minified to where I would need able to do like Docker exec bin sh or bin bash to get in. So that's what it's usually used for.
And is that part of the static Debian 11 that comes with like bin bash or whatever? Or
yeah, you could just do static Debian 11 colon like latest or colon, I don't know, remember what the tag is, but it would be shellless basically.
Huh. Neat. Today I learned. Thanks. So why not Debian 12? You said I don't think we would upgrade it to that one, or is that?
Oh, there's smaller operating systems. Like there's an Alpine minified shellless one that we could probably move to, or there's a couple more smaller, more performant containers that we could use in this case. We did Debian 11 last time just because it had the least amount of vulnerabilities to fix and was the easiest thing to populate that we knew worked with GitLab. But if we took some extra time, I'm sure we could find a better, more performant container to put it in at this point.
So is this ready or does it need a discussion? It's ready, is it? Okay.
Yeah, I put ready, and I'm just going to make a comment that we will update the Docker image, if not to Debian 12, to some other one of our choice.
Sweet. Nice one. So next is Syft 3831. We are rattling through these. And we're, only a few minutes in, aren't we? 17 minutes in. Propagate error in file source provider instead of warning log. So Syft just warns of error if it can't unpack a file in this particular function. What you expect. So this is someone using Syft as a library, right? The function should return an error when unpacking files, which will propagate to the get source. Okay. Simplest use cases is rename a file so it can't unpack it, right?
I have to look at this one. Three.
Suggests that it's already fixed upstream.
Binary name extension to target GC used.
Where are we failing?
Sorry, I'm just trying to get caught up here. Does somebody have a good summary of this one?
It looks like if you make a RAR and rename the file to tar.gz, or you make a tar.gz and you rename the file to zip, then the underlying file analysis path is failing to unarchive.
So it's determining the decompression algorithm based on the file extension and then failing to undo it.
It seems to me like that. It's not very. I didn't test that, but it seems like that's how I read the issue.
Right.
And
I
so,
don't. Sorry. Go ahead, Keith.
yeah, I'm just trying to understand. So they're trying to scan a file, and it's failing because it fails to unarchive something. But I mean, assuming that like none of the sources return like it, if they all return errors, then like ultimately the user would just get an error. Maybe they're using this as a library. Maybe that's the what they're-
Yeah, I think that's what they're implying. So it's just giving a warning rather than erroring. When, if you can't open a file, you probably want to error rather than warn.
Oh, this error is sort of just being swallowed. That's the problem. Okay. Yeah, it should be bubbled up. It's not. This is absolutely right. And I think ready to be worked on. And their links are perfectly valid. Exactly what needs to change. So
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'm gonna link in our chat so you can see, Alan, and maybe pull up this part.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is the file analysis path function. Here we're calling archiver.by extension, which is the enveloped in archiver and error. And I think this is where the error that we're ignoring or just warning on
Yes.
is the problem, because if you do the rename as the user suggested, right, then this would give an error. We would never get into the if block below. See, it's like error equals nil end. So if you scroll down below this, that error is just what is being totally swallowed. We're warning on it because if you see on line 226, that's where it just says, oh, we couldn't open it, couldn't be an archive because you did the rename. I'm not sure about the suggestion of bubbling it up to source. Maybe we just don't return the file because he's right that it's a false positive, that like this file doesn't. I'm a little both ways, because I think the file should be in the SBOM, but I think we should flag it in a way that says, hey, this thing was renamed and is not the archive it says it is, right? Like you package something as a war, it presented as a tar, the unarchiver has no idea what's going on. How do we like note that?
This is specifically for the sources though. So like the thing that Syft is trying to make a file system out of. So it's trying to make a file system out of this archive and it can't. And so like that one to me absolutely like should be bubbled up to say, I tried to open this and I couldn't.
Yeah, my fault. I agree that if it's trying to build a file system from an archive and then build an SBOM on that entire unarchived thing, we should just say unable to unarchive, this thing's broken, no SBOM for you, rather than the false positive. Thumbs up.
Yeah, and it's exactly what you said. That like that on line 217, that error, like if it's not nil, it just gets dropped. Like we just need that to get returned to the function, I think.
And this is a little sketchy anyway, because yeah, we're acting on error is not equal to nil here, but then we're like shadowing it so that in 226 we're acting on the error case and warning, even within a block where we declared error equal to nil. So it's like, yeah, we want some more better guarantees here.
So the example that I just gave was I just took a random zip file, copied it to .tar.gz. It's the same file. And yeah, you get the warning when you try and run Syft against a tarball that's actually a zip file, right? Which is what they're reporting.
That message should be returned as an error instead of being printed as a warning. Right here is the gist of it.
Sweet. Someone want to leave a comment to, like, I don't know,
I can
link to this? Yeah.
Go ahead, Keith.
If you want to, go ahead.
I have to just drop for 1 second. I'll be right back for the next bug. 1 second. Apologies.
So this is, I guess, ready?
Yeah, definitely. I think
Sweet.
so.
Cool.
And probably even good first issue on this one.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout. Cool. Are you going to leave a little comment on there?
Yeah, I will, or unless Chris said maybe he would say.
Okay.
One of us will, for sure.
Okay, next. I'm going to... okay, let's have the conversation, shall we? This one is Gripe 2607. And so we saw this and I said, like, we'll have a discussion about this. And I don't think we've had a significant conversation about it. But what it looks like is some kind of AI helper that can make your life easier by doing some level of review on pull requests. Is that about right? I think.
I'm not sure myself, but we could.
That is, if that is the case, then what about the larger philosophical question of, if I am using AI to write my code, do I want AI to also be the reviewer? Should the part pair owner also be the part pair reviewer? And how much
How much trust do you put in that, right?
Am I showing my age by saying I still want a human to go over and to verify with their full knowledge of context of the entire code base, anything that's going into the mainline branch? Humans are imperfect. AIs are imperfect in different ways. What is what are the pros and cons of author and reviewer being almost, in some cases, very much the same thing, or having a lot of the same ingredients?
I mean, from the code that I've seen a lot of AIs generate, that scares me. I think that it would be a bad idea for, a popular open source project like this to have code generated by AI and merged without human review.
Yeah, I don't think there's any suggestion that we would merge it without human review. But it's a step in that direction that we could end up getting to if we were complacent about this.
Yeah, there's some diligence topics, but in terms of, there's a difference between having things generate information, whether it's like the code or a review, and that moment when the button gets clicked, right? That I think is like part of the conversation, really orienting a lot of attention around that, the moment between the information and the click the button to merge. From an open source project perspective, I also think it's interesting about adding into the discussion like the choice as to, I'm a contributor. I haven't really seen coherent mechanisms through systems like GitHub where there's an opt-in, opt-out kind of choice being offered. Like if I'm contributing code to an open source project, to me, it's an interesting thing to consider. Having the choice as to whether or not I would like to, for an AI code review to be part of my contribution. I don't know if others have seen that, but I actually think it's kind of an interesting element here. It's a little different if you have an internal software and an application and processes can be built around this kind of stuff. But for open source, I'd like to see a little bit more of that choice being conferred on the contributor rather than as an aspect of the code or the quality of the code itself.
I mean, it would seem to me that the project would have the control over those choices, and then as a contributor, you either agree with them or don't, and shoot,
Yeah, but it's interesting to say like that is one way to do it. Have the project owner be able to decide for all contributions, there's an AI code review or not. But it's another thing to say, why not have a project offer the ability to have the contributor decide if they would like, or any contributor. If I'm joining the conversation about this particular PR or issue or whatever, I can have the option of choosing to add, an automatic code review as part of my contribution in a sense. I just think it's an interesting, alternative to having it be an element of the project or an element of the software process, but rather just put it in the hands of, the people who are actuating.
I was curious, so I went looking and found numerous issues because I was trying to figure out what the sentiment was among other open source projects and what people felt about it. And there's a mix of not interested, close, go away, which you expect. But there's also some who are like accept it, trying it out, let's see what it does, that kind of thing. So every project is different and they have different I was reminded of the war games, turn the keys and taking the humans out of the loop, which we don't want to do, of course. So I don't. What do we do here? Do we leave this open for further discussion, or do we put it as a needs discussion, or is it just a thing that we're not really keen on doing right now?
I think the whole team should probably weigh in on what they think before we decide to close it entirely.
But the final, I have a final thought on this too, because Dan Nermi's comment kind of sparked, I think, an opinion that I had, but I couldn't really formulate into words at the time, which is when you're a programmer and you're contributing anything to open source, the private company you work at, your own personal projects, your responsibility is to produce working code and something that you are confident in, right? And whether it's by writing a ton of tests or using an LLM or any tool that's at your disposal, that what matters is that when you submit a PR, you're saying the work I've put into this ensures that this PR solves the problem, is the best thing I could put out, has no bugs, and I'm staking my intellectual kind of honesty on this is the best thing of my knowledge. It's not going to waste your time and do something good for your code base. So whether it's a reviewer opt-in or you yourself use AI to review your PRs before submitting it for human eyes, maybe that's the culture and thing we should be pushing for, because otherwise you're encouraging people to kind of do a smaller amount of work at bare minimum and then throw it over the wall and say, well, the AI will take care of it and look at it. The AI being this impermissible guardrail thing that's always going to catch the bugs or the problems. So it reduces the quality on your side as far as what you're putting out and what you're kind of planting the flag and staking as a change that you really believe in. Yeah, things could be faster and you could be more prolific by throwing a bunch of stuff up there that rams its head into the AI wall. But at the end of the day, maybe if you incorporate it into your own process, the overall quality and less prolificness is enhanced by that. So that's kind of where I'm feeling on the whole thing.
You're a dreamer, Chris. You really are.
I think it's really interesting. I'm inclined to say that adding a tool like this, if it has the small chance to encourage somebody to be lazier and not think through a problem and hope that it's going to be caught by some magical system later, that would definitely be bad for us to adopt something that would, if it even has the potential to encourage that.
Do we already expect some machinery to catch things we expect tests to catch things and, various GitHub actions that run some machinery in the background to make sure, you've done the DCO, you've, in some cases signed a CLA or whatever it is. And those are very simple examples, but also it could do, more things. Is it adding AI, the magic word AI? Is that the thing that makes this slightly less tasteful, or just that we can't see inside the box to know what's actually going on there?
I think it's a reasonable analogy. It in my opinion, it's definitely something that, it is more to the topic of automation versus manual review. You add a bunch of automation. The good part is that a bunch of stuff happens. The bad part is if something goes wrong there, no one's watching, right? And there are certainly cases, and we know that because we're a security company and we write security kind of oriented tools where, yeah, malicious actors absolutely look for those things to try to introduce problems. The same is kind of happening in AI code generation, like the slop squatting and that kind of stuff, right? So we do have to be diligent, and as a security project, I think we have to be extra diligent, which, you know, in my opinion is why, like, having that choice thing, but keeping a really clear distinction between, you know, the information and the button is critical. To the topic of whether or not it encourages, you know, less diligent behavior. It's that one's tough in my opinion, because I feel like it's never going to be one or the other. Like there'll be all sorts of different attitudes towards this. You know, some folks I think will try to say, like, you know, vibe code this PR, and some folks will be like, I wrote a bunch of code and I've used some LLM and generative stuff to help me, but then I'm really confident in the code. It's awesome. It's just a tool I use to help me with, you know, save some time and things like that. So I think we'll continue to see everything in the spectrum.
Yeah, my opinion only comes from anecdotally. I know how I feel when I come back to some amount of code that I've majorly like written and put a lot of thought into. And it's a lot easier to pick up context and review it myself and like find problems with it or find things that I would want to do before submitting it for PR review. And yes, an AI has also kind of like looked at it. It's gone through ChatGPT. There's like multiple iterations. And I've also had sides where I just typed, to use Dan's word, I did the vibe code thing, got a bunch of stuff out, saw it working, and then came back the next day. And that the mental hurdle of like reviewing that and going through all that in a context like way to do a PR review or just like look at your own thing for quality was so much steeper than the original process that I think the more that we shift further right, the AI kind of reviewing tools or things that catch things in gates after, then the quality before will suffer because you're just kind of doing the latter process of just vibing it up and seeing it work and then throwing it versus the careful working and iterations, running it back through the fresh context of the tool, refining it a bit more, and then getting a PR review. So TBD.
Cool. Thanks, chaps. It's marked as need discussion, so we'll come back to that, no doubt.
I think
So
we also didn't we talk about a similar topic last time as well? I thought we were gonna, like, there's some effort here. We are looking into this capability, see what we would need to put in place, and also like options for providing that choice, which I think is an interesting one.
Cool. I'm going to jump to this one. Support embedding file hashes directly within components. Have we discussed this one? Oh, it needs investigation. Yeah, it looks like we have.
Yeah, we never got I was watching this one this week for if the author would get back to us on kind of what they meant by how they would want to have a component hash versus a file. So we investigated it. There's a couple solutions we can do to pull and do like the pass through of the digests of what the package manager thinks the digest of the thing is, but we want more input from the user to be sure that that's something that they think is what the value should be for these SBOMs.
Okay, cool. Ooh.
Oh, this one's good. Yeah, we actually just had a full text PR land in Syft. Let me pull up 3780 and make sure what we just did addressed this. 3780 Syft.
So, sorry, rewinding. Syft add a feature that returns the full license string even when it exceeds these 4 characters instead of hashing it return license ref. Oh, is that what we currently do? Okay.
I'm linking a PR to you right now, so you have that. So it just got merged. Okay.
Oh, look at that. Wait, is this the right one?
This is the right one that just got merged. So we have a full license text field, but I think Funcho here, the user who submitted the issue, there's one more step that we have to do, which is what I'm working on now, which is applying and making sure the full contents that come from the cataloger, in this case, the rpmdb cataloger, that we can get these values into the full text field rather than the value field. And we want to make it configurable so that people who are currently using Syft don't wake up tomorrow with the latest release and have their SBOMs double in size.
Right.
I think there's one other thing here. I don't know the behavior, but if it's changed. But I think what they're saying is, so if like they haven't, it's not the full text, but they just have a really long license expression, an SPDX expression that exceeds the 64 characters, and it's being, I guess, hashed and treated as a full text. Has that changed at all, or is that something we might want to consider making configurable?
No, I think we should also make that configurable. You're right, because there are, like, these expressions are longer than our current limit as far as the value. So we should, there's an update we should make in the SPDX helpers, which checks to make sure that when you're building the ID, that it's not a valid, that it is or is not a valid SPDX expression. Because if it is a valid SPDX expression, you shouldn't do any of the hashing or license ref appending or anything like that. You should just stick that as the ID and give it the thumbs up. And that might be, but I thought I changed that with the recent PR. Let me go back and double check. I did a whole rework around.
I was asking because I thought maybe that was part of what you just recently changed, and then this could be done.
Yeah, if you check the PR, there is a section where we assign. It's the PR. The file is called SPDX helpers /2 format model. And when we build the string that is the value for the ID, let me make sure I'm linking the right thing.
Is this around 760, that kind of area?
Sorry, it's SPDX util helpers license.go. So it's a bit further down than the 2 format model, one file down from there.
Yep.
Yeah, we ripped out all of this because this had a few bugs in it. If you scroll to the bottom of that, there is a new function called generate license ID. And so we see if the SPDX expression just does not equal no, we return the SPDX expression as the ID. And then only if we have value and license sum, that's when we do the 64 character, calculate the hash or the SHA and put that as the ID instead. So now SPDX expressions should be disqualified. Disqualified, or they should be immune to this kind of behavior. But I'm going to go back and double check. And if it isn't, then I'll file a follow-up PR for this issue.
Does this only affect SPDX formatted SBOMs and not like CycloneDX or Syft JSON?
Looks that way.
What were you going to ask, Keith? Yeah, I think, Alan, to answer your question, it does look that way, yes.
I was just going to say, I think we could just like test the same thing on main and now and see. I'm happy to do that unless somebody's already done that.
Yeah, I was going to ask the similar question. Like, if you look back at the original issue, are the examples they gave, are those valid SPDX expressions, or are they going to fall through to the license sum?
I'm checking the Kate's controller image that he supplied right now. We'll give it a run. What was this? Minimal lang pack. That's what we want. And he had a license, hashes the value in return. Let's do glibc common. We can go on to the next one while I look this one up. Sorry, I don't mean to hold up the stream while checking this. It's just a large SBOM.
So where is it? That one. Yeah. Oh, okay, I see. So that's the example where it gets
Right, like it is an SPDX expression, a valid SPDX expression in theory. And so like ideally that would just be what we use as the license. Instead of like the license refs are for things that are text that don't that have things outside of the SPDX license IDs.
okay. Where are we? This needs.
We can just, yeah, we'll come back to this one.
Okay.
Currently running on my system. Sorry, it's just a little slow. I don't know why my internet's not pulling this container down.
Let's jump to this one. Have we talked about this one before? Oh, it looks like it's already. Oh,
CycloneDX.
yeah, I think we have talked about this one before.
This, I'm pretty sure that the conclusion was we just wanted to support the Vex exclusions the same way that we support them with the open Vex, just like add support for the other format. So I mean, to me, I think this is ready. Although I don't think any of us are going to work on it immediately.
Sweet. Cool. All right. Well, I'll mark that as ready because that's triage.
Perfect.
And we've got another Vex related one, which is another one I thought we'd talked about before. This is Grype 2471. Oop, where did that go? There. So is this another Vex format is incorrect or something? Okay.
It says it's open Vex.
Looks like the function for matching subjects only supports images. What?
Yeah, there are some limitations in the implementation. I think that the thing is that there's something about defining the Vex exclusions that you need to match something about the image, and we don't have a way to match directory, like an arbitrary directory as the source, because that's not really a standard thing anywhere.
So
probably some enhancement that we could make to, let people specify, be more lenient about what they specify in those documents, maybe.
Are you saying that in this Vex document there will be like you would expect there to be like a container like hash or name or?
I think like in his case he's trying to do a source, but yes, like in the case of a working Vex document, it would have some kind of a reference to the image tag, or to the image being used.
Right. Okay.
I'm taking a quick look, but I'm a little shaky on this, so I'm just kind of. I think that's what's going on though.
Is Vex support relatively new in Syft and Gripe?
It hasn't had a lot of eyes on it. It was implemented by Puerco, and that's Adolfo, and he pretty much worked with us and got it in, and I mean we occasionally get issues here, but I don't think anybody on the team has really spent a lot of time either working with or doing anything to the implementation.
Okay.
To answer the previous license question, it's still falling into the block where it is summing up those licenses. I'm going to check and see why the SPDX validator isn't validating those expressions as valid ones to continue through into the JSON. So I'm going to write up a response to that issue tagging the latest PR that went in, saying what we thought would have been fixed, and I'll file a follow-up PR that targets doing that specifically for the example the user filed.
Nice. Thanks, Chris.
Mhm.
Is this, I mean, this is marked no status. Is this ready for someone to work on, or what do you think? Is there any more information we need? There's a couple of comments from Alex and Henry.
Let's see.
Matching subjects and sources. Alex said function for matching subjects and sources only supports images.
Right, exactly. And I think that like the answer is we could add more support for more things.
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody would have a problem doing that, but yeah, like I said, a lot of us, I don't think any of us on the team have a whole lot of familiarity with this code, but obviously we can certainly help.
So is that's a needs investigation, is it? Although that was removed.
Oh, it was removed.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's recommending the next step is to try and only error out if there's is actively a mismatch with the subject on the vex data. Yeah. Yeah, well, if Alex removed the needs investigation, probably need to consult with him on that one.
Okay. We'll pick that one up next time when he's back.
I'm not sure how the sources of Vex, like what's supported in the Vex ecosystem in terms of sources and how they map to our notion of source directories and SBOMs and container images and da-da-da.
Yeah, I'm curious what the matching subjects for a directory scan would look like.
Yeah, exactly. I don't clearly have it in my head.
Okay. We have just a couple of minutes left. I think we've done most of these. I don't think we've got any that are going to only take a couple of minutes. So I think we call it at that point. Any other decision? Final? Yes? No?
I think we're good. We're under 10 no triage issues with
That's pretty good going.
I'm not saying anything about the false negative label.
Yeah, if we remove that, like,
I think that's that's like a solo stream where like someone just has to be like, what people have to enjoy watching someone working in silence for like 10 or 12 minutes, and then just like kind of you're cooking while like ambient noise is happening in the background, and you just hear someone go, "Oh, I see." And then they scribble and run a bunch of chants. And they go, that's interesting. And then it gets like to 20 minutes, and then you hear them go, "Okay, so I think I can explain why this is happening." But it's just going to be an ambient noise session for like one of these issues. It can't be all four of us working on it.
Right. So really, we need whoever's got the best mechanical keyboard to be making this an ASMR false positive stream or something.
That's a Will Murphy. Will has the best one out of all of us for sure.
Right. Sweet. Okay. Let's wrap up at that point. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, chaps. It's always an education. We'll be back, I guess, maybe next week. Who knows? With more things to triage, or things to discuss, or things to fix. Thank you, chaps. Have a good rest of your week and weekend, and we'll see you next time. Cheerio.
Cheers.